Yeah, and I do think what is interesting is that also I think put this you down this road where if you take that approach, and this is I think where it's wrong-headed with a lot of the approaches with agentic AI right now, where it's like, oh, how can I use this to replace a customer service agent or a help desk agent or what have you? Which may be where this ends up, but by starting there, what you're doing is you're perpetuating the existing business models and the existing approaches, and simply saying, how can I use AI to do the same thing but better, faster, and cheaper, whatever. What I think is interesting is when you start and this starting point by saying, hey, we're going to start with the assumption that AI is not always right, but it can still provide a whole bunch of value. How do I then apply it? How do I use that? And then how does that change the way I actually architect my business models and architect my workflows? And so there's an interesting news. We'll wrap up with some more news, and this one by a longtime CRM and really a BPM player called Creatio, and they're launching what they are calling the first. I'm sure there'll be some people arguing with this, but they're calling the first AI native platform with agentic digital talent built in. There you go. Got it. The marketing people definitely got a hold of that one. But it is interesting because they are effectively, and I'm not bringing up both these because I think they're related. They're effectively claiming to be reinventing CRM in this sort of AI first perspective. And the biggest thing they're doing is they're replacing the primary interface of the CRM with a chat window, right? And so you're using this agentic front end with this idea of just asking its platform what it is that you want. And I want to tee both these up for you and get your reaction to it. The other, and these are both from VentureBeat. Another article was talking about, I think it's a VC guy. But basically that they had done a really poor job historically using CRM that just didn't really fit. They did everything via email and spreadsheets, and that they had this sort of brilliant idea of simply taking all of that data and dumping it into Google's NotebookLM, which is basically just a big giant LLM type repository, and effectively using all of that unstructured data as a data store and created a CRM, so to speak, not in the traditional way with a screen, but in the sense that they could then go in and ask effectively what Creatio is sort of trying to do using a structured approach. They could simply go in and say, hey, we're, for this deal, give me the background, right? And it was mining all of the emails that went back and forth, all of that, and basically compiling this without anyone ever having an input screen. It was just the normal day-to-day interactions. And so I think what to me both of these are indicative of is the opportunity to re-envision entire business processes and business models, and the threat that it represents to traditional systems of record and the differing of views or approaches, because Creatio here is approaching it very much from we're still going to have a structured model underneath the covers, but we're going to create this approach on top that allows you to interact from an AI perspective. So anyway, it was just really fascinating. We've talked a little bit about some of this in the past. What's your take on it, or how did you react to any of this?
Yeah, I really was interested in this Creatio announcement because it fundamentally takes a different data approach to CRM. I feel like obviously the likes of Salesforce, Oracle's SAP defined CRM back in the day. We've seen a little bit of transformation in the CRM space by companies like HubSpot that made CRM cheaper and had a little bit more alignment with marketing automation. But the actual process of simply using customer interactions and human notes and then being able to actually take the next step from a CRM perspective with a native approach is still relatively novel. The existing CRM players want to do this by creating agents and creating kind of this middleware approach. And Creatio's saying, no, we're just going to have that data lake that everybody's been hyping over the past 5 to 10 years. And we're just going to pull directly from that data lake. And we are just going to do the CRM tasks. We're going to get rid of this whole data entry nonsense that every salesperson ever in history has hated to do.
Hated.
And I feel
I'm
like
really
Google has taken a similar note with NotebookLM, which is probably the best product they've brought out in years. And I'm
the one they
hoping
talk
that
about the lead.
Google, yeah, and I'm hoping that Google takes the hint and
Yeah.
productizes that more.
Well, and this wasn't Google that did it. This was just somebody using Google
Yeah.
or NotebookLM to achieve this. But what I do think it's interesting from two standpoints. One is Satya Nadella was talking about this a while ago about that is this a threat to in general, not just CRM systems of record? And I think the answer is it is, because to your point, we all hate this idea of having to enter data into these systems. What I think is the big open question mark to me, and these two examples are sort of bringing this out, is can you go fully unstructured? Are the systems capable enough? Can you trust it if there's literally no structure? If we're just randomly typing emails, recording conversations, and dumping it into this data, this unstructured data store, and then letting AI sort through it and hoping it gets it
Mhm.
right. Entirely probabilistic, right? No structure whatsoever. Or the Creatio model, which is sort of a hybrid, still a structured database, still something that's underneath some sense of how you would organize that data and how you'd want to look at it. But then, and I haven't at least seen it to see to what degree they're going, but certainly then providing an unstructured layer, at least to retrieve it, perhaps to capture it. And I think that is interesting. And I think we're going to see this sort of battle play out. And I don't know which way it goes. I mean, I'm having been someone that's been on the receiving end of this for most of my career, one way or the other, ITSM or having used CRMs or whatever. There's a certain degree of efficiency, at least when you're in the mode of I know exactly what data I'm trying to access, and I know exactly what if you're a sales guy and you're just pounding through calls and you can set up an automation where it just automatically bringing up screens, you know exactly where to look. That's a whole lot faster than having to type, right? Every single time between every one and prompt. So now I need this information, right? I mean, so I think there's something to be said for parts of this, and I think it'll be interesting to see how that all sorts out. But I think I also think I find it interesting that ServiceNow recently introduced their CRM, right, which is old school play into this new world, and it points to the fact that a lot of these companies like Salesforce and like ServiceNow and like SAP and like Oracle, I think are going to be in for a rough road as all of this comes under threat and them figuring out how to adapt to it. So it's just I found it just really fascinating. And I'm excited to see someone like Creatio just sort of rock the boat a little bit on this.
Mhm. Absolutely. I also think that uh, this speaks to how generative AI is truly transformational. And although there's a lot of hype around what makes this useful, I think the practical aspect of this is that we have created this 40-year kind of market of generation of enterprise apps built around the structured database, the Oracle-based world of simply putting data entry into the right cell and then pulling it out into this arbitrary table or arbitrary dashboard. And that arbitrariness is going away uh, and becoming replaced with business and task focused and context focused views for right now that can always be created whenever you need them. That's the future. That's the real productivity opportunity here.